Srimad Bhagavatam 1:16 ध्यायतश्चरणां भोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा उत्कण्ठयाश्रुकलाक्षस्य हृदि आसीन्मे शनैर्हरिः. Narad Muni, as a boy in his previous life, is describing the experiences that he had when, after the sudden and untimely demise of his mother, he traveled north, going through dangerous forests and people's thirst. Eventually, after bathing and freshening himself with water, he situated himself under a banyan tree and fixed his consciousness on the super soul, yatha shrutama chintam, as per what he had heard from the sages. So, what happened thereafter is now being described in this section. Dhyayatas charanam bhojam. Dhyayatas. He started meditating. Charanam bhojam. The lotus feet. Ambhoja. Ambo is water, ja is born. Ambhoja is that which refers to that which is born from water. That is the lotus. Bhavanirjita chetasa. Bhavanirjita. Nirjita is transformed, conquered by emotion. So as he contemplate on the absolute truth, on the supreme, he felt attracted to the absolute truth, and by that attraction, Nirjita Chetasa, the consciousness which normally keeps moving here and there and everywhere, that its random movements were conquered. In the path of yoga, that is the purpose actually. Yoga chittavritti nirodha. That the random moments of consciousness need to be conquered, and that's what happened to him over here. That those random moments were checked and conquered, and outkanthya kalakshasya. Outkanthya, great eagerness, utkantha, transcendental eagerness, ashru kalakshasya. Ashru kala is the tears rolling down in akshasya from his eyes. So because of the intense eagerness he had for a greater experience of the Supreme, for a greater contact with the Supreme, and the great joy that was coming through that. Normally when we get something delicious to eat, we want more and more, utkantha. And when something is delightful beyond expectation, delightful beyond expression, at that time it gives so much joy that there are tears which come out. Sometimes the tears are because of sorrow, sometimes the tears may be because of joy also. Hrudi asin me shanair harihi. Hrudi asin, in his heart appeared me shanai. In his heart they appeared soon, without much delay, Harihi, the Supreme Lord. So he meditated on his lotus feet. His consciousness became attracted to him. As he started sensing the increasing divine presence within him, he started experiencing symptoms of ecstasy, and then the Lord appeared in his heart. So even before the Lord appears, the ecstasy starts appearing. The divine presence which captivates and attracts our heart starts manifesting itself as ecstasy, and then the Lord appeared in the heart. So here it is not explicitly described what was the sadhana that Narada performed. This was, as we will see later, this was more of an example of Kripa Siddhi. That Narada did not specifically do any elaborate sadhana, although he will do such a sadhana after getting this wonderful glimpse. But at this stage, just he sat down for meditation, and as he contemplated, the Lord appeared in his heart. So of course it was not free, in the sense that Narada had gone to so many tribulations before this. He had lost his mother while he was just a boy of 5, and then he had traveled through dangerous places. So all this indicated that his faith had been tested and had emerged successful. He had persevered in his explorations, spiritual inner explorations, through great dangers. And now, when he sat down for meditation, the Lord, being pleased with him, manifested in his heart. Hridasin me Shanair Hari. In the heart, Lord Hari appeared. Premati bhar nirbhinna pulakango अति निर्वृतः आनंद संप्लवे लीनो नापश्यम उभयम मुने प्रेमाति भर निर्भिन्न. So premati bhar, so he had already was feeling outkantya, great attraction and eagerness for the Lord. But when the Lord actually appeared before him, he was overwhelmed with love for the Lord. Sometimes when we long to see someone, because of we already have affection, but when we see that person at that time, that affection overflows and it intensifies so much that the person gets overwhelmed. We've been longing to see someone for a long time, and then finally we see that person, we may just freeze. There is so much joy that joy causes us to freeze at that time. So something like that happened. Prema ati bhare nirbhin, ati bhare nirbhin. Overwhelming affection flooded his consciousness. Pulakango ati nirvritaha pulakango. His bodily parts, pulaka, they started manifesting the symptoms of ecstasy. And the hair started standing on end and the body started becoming enlivened. So, anga. So Prabhupada explained that every part of his body, became enlivened. That was intense spiritual stimulation. Ananda samplave lino. Ananda samplave. That in the ocean of ecstasy, Anand samplave lino. He became absorbed in that ecstasy. And thus, Napashyam Ubhayam Mune. Napashyam. He was no longer able to see Ubhayam, himself or the Lord. Mune. Here, Muni is Narad Muni is speaking to Vyasadeva and he's addressing him. Sometimes intense affection and the emotions associated with affection, they can cloud our vision so that we just don't see. So the very thing that stimulates our emotion, the very thing that immensely attracts our emotions towards the Lord, that very thing, when it is kindling us and it is triggering us towards greater and greater depths and heights of emotion, at that time we will get so overwhelmed by the emotion that, say, the tear is coming out, they start overwhelming us. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it is mentioned that Chitrak and Raktak, when they behold the Lord, they are fanning him and they are beholding him, and he is so beautiful that tears of ecstasy start flooding down their eyes. And their devotion is great, but their service attitude is greater. And because of that greater service attitude, they try to reject, they want the tears to go away so that they can serve the Lord properly, so that they can see, okay, where is the Lord sweating, where might he feel a little discomfort because of heat, where can we offer comfort by fanning him. And they want to fan him properly, and for them the service of the Lord is more important than our ecstasy. But still the point remains that the ecstasy can be so great that it can block our vision temporarily of the object that is causing us such ecstatic emotion. And that's what happened here with Narada. He could not perceive himself, he could not perceive the Lord. That means even in material life there is a concept which is called as flow. Now this is considered a state of peak performance, where by psychologists they say that when a person gets into a flow, then that person just gets into the action and is not aware of anything apart from the action. And that is a state of utter absorption which leads to top performance. So that is of course material, but in the spiritual context, in connection with the Lord, that sort of absorption flow manifests at the supreme level, where there is only such bhakti that one is not aware of anything else apart from that bhakti. Text 18. Rupam bhagavato yattan manah kantam shuchapaham apashyan sahasot tasahe vaiklavayad durmana iva. Rupam bhagavato yattan. So that form of the Supreme Lord. Rupam bhagavato manah kantam shuchapaham manah kantam. That which was extremely desired by the Lord, by the mind rather. So it's normally, or manakanta. The desirable object of the mind is often something apart from Krishna. Mind has so many attachments, but when Krishna becomes our manakanta, Krishna becomes the desired object for the mind, the beloved of the mind, then we are as good as purified and liberated. Mai asakta manaha partha, Krishna says in 7.1, that getting the mind to become attached to him is the perfection of yoga, and this perfection is the culmination of bhakti. So here Narada, as we will see, that he was not at the peak of pure bhakti, but at this particular stage, our mind also goes through different moods, and sometimes it likes something, sometimes it does not like something. Here, he was experiencing such ecstasy by perception of the Lord that even his mind wanted nothing except the Lord. So, Manakanta Shuchapaham, Manakanta, the Lord had become his Manakanta. His mind aspired for the Lord, craved for the Lord, we could say. Shuchapaham, but suddenly he disappeared. Apashyan Sahaso Tasehe Sahasa, he just got up. What happened? Vaiklavyad Durmana Iva Vaiklavyad. Out of disturbance, Durmana Iva. Because of having lost that which is desirable. So at one, just the previous verse, it described that he was so absorbed in ecstasy that he was not aware of anything, neither himself nor the Lord. But suddenly, when the Lord disappeared from within, now in the inner territory, sometimes we find ourselves just powerless because we can't do much in the inner territory. We can't really control what appears and what disappears. Sometimes some thoughts, some images, they just appear in our consciousness and we may not want them, and we have to fight and fight to try to drive them out, but just they seem to stay there. And at other times, certain thoughts, we may want to summon them, but they just don't appear. Sometimes we try to think of Krishna, but just the thoughts of Krishna don't appear. So actually, engaging in the inner territory can often make us powerless, because we can't really control what happens there, what appears there, what disappears from there. So at that time, when from the inner territory the Lord had disappeared, suddenly he just came to external consciousness. That was where he felt he could do something, and he was sitting physically. So normally, physically sitting is matter of inactivity, and physical motion is a matter of activity. So he immediately got up. Oh, has the Lord gone somewhere? Let me see if he has gone. I'll try to beg him to wait. I'll try to catch his feet. I don't want him to go away. So he just got up because of great disturbance. What has happened? Something extremely desirable was being relished, and suddenly the next moment, without any warning, without any indication of where it had gone, it just disappeared. Text 19. Didrukshustadham bhuya pranidhaya manohridi वीक्ष्यमाणोऽपि नापश्यन् अवितृप्त इवातुरः दिदृक्षस्तदहं भूयो. Didrukshus, he desired strongly, tadaham bhuya, again, that pranidhaya manorudhi, he realized, oh, there's nothing outside. So again he sat down in meditation and he turned his consciousness inward. Manorudhi, he tried to fix his mind on the heart, but unfortunately, vikshamano pina pashyam vikshamano. He strongly wanted to behold, but na pashyan, he could not see anything over there. Avitrupta ivaturaha, avitrupta, and he was not trupta, he was not satisfied. Ivaturaha, he was extremely eager. Sometimes when we want something very strongly and when we don't get that, we feel extremely agitated. Avitruptaiva aturaha. So that's what happened here to Narada, that he wanted to see the Lord, but he just couldn't see, and thus he felt agitated. He felt extremely agitated. You know, when there is no craving for something, when there is no strong desire for something, and at that time we don't see the thing, then we don't feel so agitated. We don't feel so disturbed. But when we strongly want a thing and then we don't get it, at that time we feel agitated. So in this case, because Narada had got a intense, intoxicating, unforgettable glimpse of the Lord, he just couldn't live without another sight of the Lord. And avitrupta iva atura. So he was atura and he was not trupta. That was his condition. Text 20. Evam yatantam vijane mam aha gocharagiram गंभीरलक्ष्णया वाचा शुचः प्रशमयन् इव. So then as he was desperately trying to find out, trying to somehow behold the Lord at that time, evam yatantam vijane, as yatantam, as he was entering vijane, in that place where there was no one else, mam aha agocharagira, unto me spoke agochara. So go chara, go is senses, chara is to move. So agochara means that where the senses cannot reach. Agochara giram. Gira is voice. So a voice that was inconceivable, a voice that was not reachable by the material senses. That means it is a divine voice. So he could hear the voice, but he could not see the source of the voice. In that suddenly he heard that voice, agochara giram gambhir shlakshnaya vacha, and the nature of that voice was gambhir, it was grave, shlakshnaya. Sometimes when a person is grave, it might be scary, but this was a voice that was grave and yet it was pleasing, it was enlivening. The message that was going to be imparted was grave. The tone also indicated that this was not just some frivolous joke or something like that. A serious message was being spoken, but then that serious message was being spoken in a pleasing way. Shuchaha prashamayan iva shuchaha. And as he heard that voice, the grief, ma shuchaha, do not grieve, do not doubt, do not lament. As it says, shuchaha prashamayan. So shama means to calm down, prashamayan means to properly calm down. So this was a voice which he heard, which calmed his grief. So the previous verse said that he was experiencing great utkantha, and along with the utkantha, he was experiencing avitrupta, he was dissatisfied. So here it's mentioned that as he heard this voice, the voice itself pacified him substantially. And let's see what the voice says. That's mentioned in the next verses. Text 21. Hantasmin janmani bhavan mamam drashtum iharhati avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam. Hantasmin janmani bhavan. Bhavan. So in the Lord is addressing Narada, who is just a small boy, in a respectful second person, not Tvam, Bhavan. So he's saying, oh you, Hantasmin, I, oh Narada, Hanta. Hanta is an expression of emotion, and there can be, it's a form of address which also associate with which associate with some emotion. So it can be positive, it can be negative. That has to be inferred from the context. So Prabhupada explains that here it's a conveying an emotion of regret. Hanta asmin janmani bhavan. That asmin janmani, that in this lifetime, mamam drishtum iharhati, that you will not be able to see me. Drishtum iharhati, you're not qualified, you will not deserve to see me. Avipakwa kashayanam. Avipakwa. Pakwa is mature, ripe. Avipakwa is that which is not ripe, that which is immature. Kashayanam refers to contamination. So this is material contamination, material dirt. Durdarsho aham kuyoginam. So, kuyoginam, the word ku is a prefix which conveys some kind of qualification to what follows. So, kuyoginam means the yogis who have not yet completed their path or completed their yogic journey. They are incomplete in their practice of yoga. So, for such persons, durdarshoham, I am difficult to be seen. So, for those who are still impure at heart and incomplete in service, they cannot see me. And oh Narada, because you are in that position, so you cannot see me. Now, this message is being spoken not in a dismissive, disheartening sense, but in an objective, pacifying sense. Narada was mystified and devastated, agitated that, oh, he had beheld the Lord, and why had the Lord suddenly disappeared like this? So he is being assured here that although the Lord has disappeared, it is not that he is forever disappeared. He can be seen, but certain qualifications have to be acquired. And because he doesn't have that qualification, so he has not been able to see him. And now this may lead to the question that, okay, then how was he able to see him once? And that will be pointed out by the Lord in subsequent verses. But here, there is a significant point for us to meditate, that we cannot demand the Lord appear before us. Even in the Vishwarupa Darshan, in the Vishwarupa Darshan chapter, Adhyaya, 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there, when Arjuna desires to see the Virat Rupa, he says, Manyase yadi tachakyam maya drashtumite prabho. That if it is possible for me to see my dear Lord, therefore please allow me to see this form. So there's always a mood of humility when we want to behold the Lord, because we understand that we ourselves don't have any qualification to see Him. And it is by His mercy that He may reveal Himself to us. And of course, it is not that even when we are pure at heart and we have done lots of service, that time we become qualified. But that time, the commitment that we have shown in doing service and purification, in that, by that we show the Lord our sincerity, our determination, and that pleases Him and that inspires Him to reveal Himself to us. Thus, ultimately, it is the Lord's mercy by which He reveals Himself, but that mercy can be sought, can be beseeched by purifying our heart and rendering service. So, in our devotion, we should focus on purification and contribution, not on perception. Not on, we should not. If we focus on perception, that, oh, I want to see, I want to see, that perception and expectation. When will I see? When will I see? The desire is good, but we should not expect that we will be able to see. We can focus instead on purifying our heart, trying to cultivate remembrance by which we can purify. So internally we try to purify ourselves and make our thoughts focused on Krishna as much as possible, and externally we try as much as possible to do contribution. We try to serve in such a way that we can move closer and closer to Krishna through the steady practice of bhakti. So avipakva kashayanam durdarsho aham kuyoginam. The Lord is giving a reason. Because of this, you will not be able to see me once again throughout this life. So then, you may ask, okay, if I was unqualified, then why was I able to see once also? So that the reason the Lord gives here. Sakrud, that's the text 22. Sakrud yad darshitam rupam etad kamaya te nagha mat kamaha shanakai sadhu sarvan munchiti ruchayan. Sakrud yad darshitam rupam, that once you have been able to see me, my beautiful form, Sakrud, once, etad kamaya te nagha. By this, your hankering, kama, yeah, here the word kama is used in a general sense to refer to desire, to the power of desire, and not to in the specific sense of desire for a sexual gratification. Etad kamaya te nagha. Now, O you who are sinless, O you are virtuous, mat kamaha shanakai sadhu, as Matkama Shanakai, as my Shanakai means to increase, as your desire for me increases more and more, which is auspicious, Sarvan Munchati Rachayan. At that time, Sarvan Munchati, it'll everything else will munchati, will be cleansed away, will be washed away. Richayan. Whatever darkness is there in the heart, whatever contamination is there, that will be washed away, will be cleansed out, swept out. So, spiritual desire is the best way to counter material desire. If we try for desirelessness, we try to drive out desires, that is difficult and that is not sustainable for very long. But if we focus on cultivating spiritual desires, then that cultivation can enable us to move onwards steadily towards Krishna, because there is something positive, there is something purposeful that we can strive towards. When there is something negative, oh, don't desire this, don't desire that, don't desire that, then that negative is restrictive. There is, without a positive purpose, we cannot move on for long. So here, Narada is telling, Narada is being told by the Lord. The Lord is not there, but the voice, Agochara Giram, that voice which could not be heard, which could not be perceived with the eyes, whoever the source, that was not known. So that voice is speaking here and was telling that I gave you this darshan once so that your desire for me will increase, and as the desire for me increases, that desire will consume your consciousness, and it will drive out everything else that might be there in the consciousness. We see that sometimes the mind becomes obsessed with something. If it may be a small object also, it might be trivial, it may not be, that object may not give much pleasure also, but when we become obsessed with a particular object, at that time we become so consumed by it that we can't think about anything else. So that principle of the consumption of consciousness through absorption, that can work positively and that can work negatively also. Negatively, it can make us obsessed over things that are trivial, but positively, it can fill us with so much spiritual aspiration and spiritual focus that everything material gets pushed out of our consciousness. And it is for that purpose to does Benedict Narada to help him accelerate his purification, that the Lord appeared before him and the Lord spoke to him. So what he further spoke and how Narada responded to it all, we'll discuss in our future